Have we become echo chambers instead of having really proper dialogue with one another? Why do I say echo chambers? Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We need to sit down for a proper coffee break. It matters. Take your break and then let's talk about what matters, because we are not having dialogue anymore. We are echoing what we see on social media, in mainstream media, the narrative they want us to follow. And I always say narrative is a story. It's not necessarily the truth. But we have become this, I almost want to say, vessel through which they spout this narrative and we all follow it because it's everywhere on social media, on X, on Instagram. I have seen it where someone would post on X and then quote themselves in another post as if that is the total truth. And I'm thinking, what has happened to us? I've already talked about critical thinking and common sense having to come back. And part of this common sense and critical thinking is the skill of having a conversation, of having a dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lost the skill of conversation and dialogue. We do not listen to one another anymore. If it does not follow the narrative that we see everywhere on social media, then we don't want to hear that. We don't want to listen to that. How many times have you in the last few weeks had a situation where someone asked you a question, even if it's just to say, how are you? And when you start answering, they have already tuned out. They've zoomed out to another thing. They don't really want to know. How many times have someone asked you or told you something that you really stopped and listened? Or that you ask a question, you get an answer, but, nah, it's not really my thing. I am already in my head busy with other stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we have lost the art of conversation. We have lost the richness of a dialogue where you can talk about things that you agree with, things that you disagree with, that you can have a whole dialogue about. And you may never agree on this on it, but you come to a closer understanding of why someone else is agreeing and you are disagreeing without being angry with one another. I'm not talking about having arguments because it seems to me this is all that is happening now. I believe I am right and you are wrong. And everyone else that believes differently than I are absolutely wrong. And I can dish them, I can ignore them. I don't have to listen to them. I don't want to talk to them. And they just need to listen to what I'm saying. That is not a dialogue. That is a monologue. And point in case, I mean, I always talk about South Africa and also America, and also we can look UK, Europe. It is happening everywhere where the people are getting angry with one another and then they get violent. And it's mostly, and I say this with a lot of respect, but what I have perceived, what I have observed, and in my opinion, is that we have the left, those guys that are extreme to that side, this is my left, but that is intolerant, even though they tell you they're tolerant. They are intolerant of anyone disagreeing with them. And they have become violent. Even when they tell you they are for peace and they are being peaceful and they are so empathetic. It's not the case. If you open your eyes and you use your common sense, you will see that I am not so far out of it. Um, and I'm not saying people on the right, um, they are not also. You have your far extreme sides that are really extreme, that believe that they are intolerant. And whether they are on the far right or on the far right or on the far left, um, for me, it is uh, it it is sad, but also it's concerning because we are descending into an uncivilized society. We are going back to, if I don't like you, I can kill you. If I don't like what you say, I can kill you. And you can't tell me that's wrong because my politicians are telling me that's okay. You have to do that now. And that's concerning. I've been watching the American situation, the shutdown, and the rhetoric that is coming out. And I'm thinking, what is going on in their minds? Because they know that they are inciting people, and unfortunately, you will have those that are uninformed or not uninformed that are, yo, how can I put this without being harsh? But they are less fortunate in terms of their thinking processes. Let's put it like that. Um, and they will follow the leader blindly without asking questions, without asking them to clarify, what do you mean by? I've seen it in South Africa. In South Africa, we have a very violent society, and um, it is fostered by the politicians. Not all of them, but the far left, absolutely. If you can sing a song like um, the EFF is doing, then you are inciting violence. And you cannot stand back and say, yeah, but I don't mean it literally. Come on. You know people are going to do what you are telling them. The less fortunate in the intelligence department. And that is what's happening in America. That is what's going on in the UK. That has been happening in Europe. And then countries like Poland that says from the beginning, no, 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 this is not happening here. They have been ostracized and criticized, and now they are being proven right. You cannot allow lawlessness and then think it is okay, and then cry foul when that lawlessness comes back to bite you. And where does it start? When we don't have dialogue, when we don't have conversations with one another without wanting to kill one another. We have to start having conversations, sitting around the fire pit on a nice afternoon or evening, and start having conversations about stuff. Anything, health, money, politics, your opinions, whatever. But just start having conversations again so that we can get back to we can talk to one another, differ from one another, and still be friends. You don't need to be enemies because your opinions are different. Your political beliefs are different. You can still, but you need to have conversations. You cannot converse with one another over WhatsApp. You cannot converse with one another via Facebook posts or X posts or Instagram or whatever you are using. There are so many apps and social media platforms. And yeah, it's a good thing because it keeps you in contact with, but it's also a bad thing because there's a lot of information that are a little bit correct, but a lot incorrect. And it's being pushed onto your feed and you start believing that, and if you don't, you get cancelled. And this Cancel culture has become the worst thing, I think, that we could have started in our society, in human history, because we get the sense of entitlement out of that. We need to start talking to one another. But most importantly, we need to start listening to one another. Really listening, hearing what that person is saying. Not asking a question and start thinking about other stuff. Okay, you can talk, but I am not really interested. Then don't ask the question. If you are not interested in the answer, don't ask the question. And it's such a simple thing. If you ask a question, you really want to hear the answer. And if you listen to the answer, maybe it would surprise you and make you think. But if you don't want to hear anything that is not the narrative, the story that they are telling you, then don't ask the question. But we need to get off our phones. And yeah, I'm saying this while you are watching me on your phone or your tablet or your PC. But we do need to make time to talk to one another again, to find the joy in conversation, the joy in dialogue, the joy in debating stuff without becoming so angry that we want to kill one another. So, ladies and gentlemen, try this in the next week or month. Try getting back to having conversations without a phone in your hand, listening to what the other person is saying, asking questions that you really want the answer to. And if you like this, and if you it makes you think, share it with your friends, your family, your work colleagues if you want to. But share it and then act on it. I really would love to hear your opinion about this. Let's converse in the comments below. And ladies and gentlemen, have that coffee break, have that break. It matters. And you matter. And please like, subscribe so that you can get notified when I send out a new video. And I hope this is something that resonates with you. So until the next one, have a nice break.